Do you want to know how to teach children empathy? I'm Nicholeen Peck, and I teach parenting and good communications all over the world through the lens of the principle self-government. And in this video, we're talking about raising empathetic children. So in this video, we're going to be talking about what empathy is, why children struggle to learn empathy, and what parents can do to help their children learn more empathy. It seems like it's a basic that people should just care about others. That's what empathy is, right? It's this deep caring about somebody else, that even if somebody has made a mistake, you still care and appreciate that person. So when a person has a hard time or when they've done something that's wrong, it is this feeling of compassion and understanding of another person. Now, generally, parents have this just innate sense of empathy toward their children. When a child cries, they feel bad about it. And then because the parent shows that type of attention to the child, usually a child, when they see somebody else crying or having a bad day or something's not going right, or maybe even they have done something that was wrong, the child might feel like, oh, I understand, it's okay, accidents happen, or they might even want to be there for people. Sometimes you hear stories of parents who they're sick in bed and suddenly here comes their little 6-year-old child in with, homemade breakfast in bed for their mommy or their daddy because they care so much. And doesn't everyone want to have a child that has a heart like that, that would be caring? But do you know, not all children experience empathy the same. It doesn't come as naturally for all children. In fact, just childhood in general doesn't necessarily naturally teach empathy. It is something that has to be taught, and of course parents are the very best examples. So why do children have a hard time with empathy? What is it about childhood that makes empathy a lesson that has to be deliberately taught oftentimes? Why do we have to tell children to say that they are sorry and that they should feel that they are sorry when some of them absolutely don't feel they're sorry in the moment? Why is it? Is it because there's something wrong with the child? No, not necessarily. They are just a child. So children are very self-focused. This is one of the things that they do in order to preserve life, to stay out of safety, to make sure they get all of their needs met. When you're a child, you're at a very hopeless stage of life. Everyone has to provide everything for you pretty much. You're not big enough or strong enough to solve a big part of your problems. And so you have this self-preservation type focus that makes a person feel very selfish. Also, parents have a tendency to alleviate any suffering that a young person has. And so the children see that as more of the adult responsibility, the parent's job. It's not that they see that they can't ever learn that. They don't even think in that direction. They just think, well, mom and dad, they make everything better. They fix the problems. That's their job. And mom and dad are always the ones saying, oh, I'm so sorry. And so they don't see themselves as the person that has to also say, oh, I'm so sorry, and really care, because they feel like somebody else is going to take care of that. In fact, that somebody else might be a better person to take care of that because the parents could give insights that somebody else couldn't. Children can very easily develop this self-focus where they just go throughout their lives and they only think about how life is affecting them, their feelings, their wants, and their experiences, instead of trying to put themselves in somebody else's shoes. When you are empathetic to another person, it's as if you're saying, oh, what must that be like to be in that circumstance? Maybe you've been in it before, so then you recall, oh yes, I've had a failure like that before, or I've had a frustration or a hardship like that before, and so then you align with them on that shared experience. Or if you haven't had a shared experience, you question yourself and you say, if I were in that experience, what would I be feeling right now? So it's like putting yourself in their shoes, and that does take a deliberate effort to do. You have to train yourself to think of others in that way, to care about other people like that. Now, of course, if you're raised with very caring parents and grandparents, caring adults around you who care about each other, not just you. So just showing empathy to the child is not going to teach empathy to the child. You have to show empathy to all the other people around you too. So if you show you care about your child, but then you gossip about your neighbor, you say, mean things about your coworkers, you are always acting like they're mistreating you, then you aren't teaching understanding and empathy to your children. You can have empathy, this is important to understand. You can have empathy for somebody who has had something happen to them and for someone who has done something to other people. Because everyone has an experience, and the whole point of empathy is that you say, I understand that this is your experience right now, that you are going through something, and I want to be a support to you. That's really the crux behind what it means to have empathy for another person. If you've been watching this channel for a while, if you're subscribed to this channel, then you know that I spent many years doing therapeutic foster care for troubled teens. And when I took these teens into my home, the place that I worked for, the youth village, they said, now you want to make sure that the children know that you care. And I thought, well, of course I care. Sometimes they've been abused and everything else. But I didn't realize that actually there would be times that were hard to show that I cared. But there were times, and I had to tell myself to care. So they said, you want to show the children that you care, and you want to show them some empathy. So when you're talking to them, make sure that you start some of the conversations where you're going to correct them with maybe an understanding statement, or maybe even just, kind of put your hand on their shoulder or something like that to show that you're really caring as you're saying this thing. And they called that some quality components that you would add to the interaction. And I saw this is wise because these children hopefully will see before they get corrected that you are trying to see where they're coming from, that you're not just judging and getting angry, which is what they were always used to having happen. I will say that there were a few times where there were some behaviors and things that occurred that were hard to understand. We saw some behaviors that we didn't even know existed. And I had to really go deep into myself and say, okay, what must a person have gone through in order for them to defecate in a canning jar and hide it in my basement? Where does that come from? How do you understand that? Because I had no understanding for that, and I had to really go searching for that type of empathy. So let's talk about how do we help the children understand empathy now that we've established that empathy is something that has to be deliberately desired. You oftentimes have to tell yourself, I need to care. I need to think of this other person and not just myself. It's a point of honesty where you evaluate your relationship, what it should be, and you take positive steps in that direction so that you let another person know, even if you have to correct them or something you say is going to be a letdown, you let them know that this is all done with caring and that you do care. That's what it means to be empathetic. So when a child is not empathetic, they act like they don't care. They oftentimes can act very spoiled. They can be out of control. Sometimes they can talk back a lot. Those would be all the types of things that would indicate they're very self-focused. Many times they fight with siblings and they don't show remorse. Some people that have a hard time with empathy, this is probably important to note, they're slightly obsessed with justice. Okay, so justice is an important thing. It's definitely not a bad thing. It is a principle, but sometimes people become so focused on justice that they get vindictive. And in the name of justice, they don't want to care about anybody else's feelings, because if you're pushing toward justice, it really makes it easier to draw a hard line there and push towards someone feeling the pain that you felt or whatever it was if you don't care about them. If you only care about justice, then you don't have to care about the person. Ideally, a person can see justice, can understand justice, care about justice, but also care about people more than justice. To be truly merciful or caring, you have to care about people more than the other things that you hope for in your society, around you, or in your environment. When you are teaching your children empathy, obviously be the example of that. And we've already touched on that quite a bit. That's probably the number one thing, is to care about the other people around you. But another thing that you can do is teach them a really valuable skill. This is one of our skills of self-government, and it's called disagreeing appropriately. Everyone wants to be understood, and there are many times where people will have a differing of opinions. How do you resolve that in a way where everyone can show that they care and understand other people? Well, that's where the skill disagreeing appropriately comes in. So I've written 11 books. 4 of them are children's books, and they each teach one of the 4 basic skills. This book right here, Page Takes the Stage, teaches the skill disagreeing appropriately. When a person disagrees appropriately, they look at the person or the situation, they keep a calm face, voice, and body. They say that they understand the other person's point of view. So you're putting yourself in their position. Then you share your point of view, you listen to what they have to say, and then you say okay, and you drop the subject. You don't try to force yourself on the other people. You really listen, you learn, you care, and you voice your opinions too. That's what it means to disagree appropriately, and that's the seed that starts a person toward caring in all of their interactions. There's also something that I teach in the Teaching Self-Government style of parenting called family meeting. And in a family meeting, everyone has a voice, everyone has an opinion, and they get to share their thoughts and plans, their proposals for fixing issues in the family. Everyone in the meeting has to be patient and wait for somebody else to share their ideas. And then everyone takes all of the ideas into account as they formulate what they will ultimately vote for to solve the family problem. But they have to listen, they have to understand, they have to learn from each other. This environment is a great environment for learning how to care about where other people are coming from. Super important. I think one of the biggest things that a parent can do to teach their child empathy is to correct them with empathy too. So don't just show your children that you care about other people. That's a good thing. If they see you care about other people and you care about them, then that's a principle, because principles are broadly applicable. That means you would be able to apply it to everyone, right? So that's good. But in the moment when they are at their worst, when they are going completely out of control, can you be calm? Are you able to tell yourself, I need to seek to understand where they're coming from? So there is a class that I teach, and it's called The Power of Calm. It's on my website, teachingselfgovernment.com. The Power of Calm goes through the 6-step process for how to be calm when someone isn't, how to help them get calm without losing your calmness at the same time. That Power of Calm class will help you get into the habit of seeking to understand that other person in a calm way, even when they are completely out of control. So go to teachingselfgovernment.com today and find the Power of Calm. It will help you. It will help you understand them in the hardest moments, which will teach them empathy for all of the other moments to come.